dude. Don't come through the door. I will shoot.
Sam, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you out here in my shop with me. You've never been to my shop before. You're here sort of virtually. I'm grateful. As I was explaining before we started, my wife and my daughter have got a little kind of an event going on there in the house, so I was summarily given a boot. Stay out. I had to come out here to the shop to do this. And so as a result, you're watching this, please forgive me, the camera's over there, the computer's over here. So if I want to look at you, I got to look this way. If I want to look at Sam, I got to look this way. So I'm going to get a little, whiplash going on while we're talking. Happy day. I mean, it's been a great, kind of a great roller coaster trying to get anything done with the NFA. And yet you guys did it. I'm stunned. In fact, if you'd have bet me $1,000 that it would have been possible to get, I mean, I realize it's not a cake that's fully cooked yet, but I mean, it's in the oven and it's baking pretty well. It's got through the house. Tell me about give us the inside scoop. How'd you get there? What did we accomplish? Where are we going?
Well, Joel, this is a generational victory. As you said, I would have bet $1,000 a year ago that we could never get anything out of the NFA. But our team at Gun Owners of America and working with the rest of us who have been a part of this process have been working diligently, without sleep for days. And they have partnered with the Representative Andrew Clyde of Georgia, who's been the architect and the driving force in removing suppressors out of the NFA with no compromise. And it's taken many meetings. It's taken many conversations all the way from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to every hallway in the halls of Congress. It has been an enormous effort, but it could not have happened had not all of the GOA, GOC, NRA, FPC, all of the influencers out there that have got audiences that have been talking about this. The response was historic. There were members of Congress who were shutting their phones down, and we were breaking their email accounts with the incredible response that we got from our community in pushing for a no compromise position. Now, we had a congressman in from of all places, the state of Tennessee, who thought, oh no, he was like we were years ago. No, we can't get it. We're not going to be able to pass the Hyde Amendment, and we weren't going to get it done. So what we'll do, the next best thing will be to just reduce the tax on suppressors down to zero, from $200 to zero. And that was the amendment that was in the Budget Act, this great, big, beautiful bill. And we wouldn't stand for that. We said, why are you doing that? You don't understand. You guys are in charge of both the House and the Senate and the White House. So
Yeah.
anything that you put forward is going to become law. Why are you, it's these weak Nellies that are their heads are too full with this good government gobbledygook that they can't see the forest for the trees. And so we overcame those proposals with intense negotiations. If you watched the hearing as it was going on, the chairwoman would get up and disappear in the committee, or the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, the Budget Committee, and the Rules Committee. They would get up and they would disappear. Well, they were disappearing to have meetings with Congressman Clyde and our team and representatives from the administration and others who were negotiating a clean bill being added back to the great big beautiful bill. And we were successful at doing that in the waning hours. The constant pressure. Members of Congress were calling the committee saying, "You guys better get this right, or we're in deep kimchi. So fix it, do it right, do what these guys want," and that's what they did. And ultimately, we got the great big beautiful bill passed out of the House by one vote, with our provisions to extract the suppressors out of the NFA, not just the tax, but all of the background checks, the registration, the waiting periods, all of that stuff is out. So from now on, suppressors are going to be treated just like what they are considered under the law, a firearm. So you're going to do a 4473, and that's it. And you get your suppressor. Uh, Done. Now,
Now, why
yes, we
why
really
was it
have to work
important,
on it.
Sam? I'm sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt. Why was it important to do this? I know there's legislative reasons because sometimes you need 60 votes, sometimes you get away with 51. I mean, this was kind of stuck in, as they do so often, put in a budget bill, basically. Why was it important, as far as, inside baseball, why was it important to do this in a budget bill? Because obviously the push to get this done was quite significant. I mean, it's got to be the understatement of the century.
Mhm.
But anyway, if you can explain why not do it as a separate bill? Why was this important to do it as a budget bill? That would be helpful, I think.
Sure. If this were done as a separate bill, not associated with the budget, which is called reconciliation bill, the it would have required a majority of the House to pass it, and then it would have required 60 votes in the Senate with the filibuster to get it. So that means we
Mm.
would have had to get 7 Democrat senators to vote with us in order to send it to the president's desk. The budget bill, the reconciliation bill, is the bill that only requires 50% plus one in the House and 51 votes in the Senate to pass, and it goes to the president. And that gives us a cushion of several, even Republican senators that vote no, and we can still get it passed and sent to the president's desk. Now, people say, well, how is getting suppressors out of the NFA and short barrel rifles and short barrel shotguns out of the NFA? How is that a part of the budget? The NFA is primarily a tax bill. It's a tax
That's a tax, right?
revenue bill. It charges a tax, and a tax goes to the general fund and can be spent on all manner of things. It isn't a fee to cover the cost of the registration and stuff like that. It's a tax. So when the light bulbs went off and our uh, incredibly smart team said, "This is a no-brainer. Absolutely, this is a tax issue. It should be put into the reconciliation bill, along with thousands of other issues that were in that bill. This is a massive bill. No taxes for tips and uh, all kinds of tax breaks here, tax breaks there, cutting out waste and corruption and fraud here and there. There were all kinds of things in there, but we were singularly focused on this, and we knew that if we got it through the hurdle of getting it out of the House, that was the biggest challenge. There were more Congress critters there that you have to convince than you do in the Senate, and the work was going to be far more challenging. But we were
Does J.D.
successful.
Vance give us a leg up in the Senate as well? I mean, isn't he a vote if we have a tiebreaker? Can he break it?
Yeah, if it were 50-50, the vice president has the tie-breaking vote, and since the administration is very supportive of not only taking suppressors out, but also taking short barrel rifles and short barrel shotguns in the Short Act out of the NFA, I think we know where the vice president would vote.
They didn't include the SBRs and that kind of stuff, did they, this time around?
No, they didn't include those in the House bill. They were originally proposed as amendments, but ultimately, because the challenge was so great, we understood that we were going to have to focus on suppressors, and then
Mm.
we would turn and focus on the Short Act, the SBRs and SBSs in the Senate. And it's a good thing that we did, because thanks to Montana Senator Steve Daines, and Texas Senator Ted Cruz, they're proposing the amendments to add that into the budget version, the Senate version of the budget. Uh, so they will support the suppressor version that came out of the House, and they will add the short act into the bill so that we will get all three things. Then what happens if the Senate passes a bill that is different than what the House is? Then they have a conference committee where they get together and negotiate to the point to where they come to a total agreement. And I think it would be very simple for the senators to convince the House that short and suppressors have to be in this great big beautiful bill, and we send it to the president.
But I hear from Californians like crazy. I've heard it in social media. I've gotten some emails like that. Well, this doesn't help me. I'm of the opinion it does in the long run. But I'm curious what your response to that is, because obviously, I mean, it seems obvious to me that even if these objects, which are not even, shouldn't be in the NFA in the first place, if we take short barrel rifle, if we take SBRs and, short barrel shotguns and all this stuff and suppressors out of the NFA, they're still illegal in California. So Californians, they don't benefit at all. But I can see you want to explain to me how they do. So off you go.
Strategically and even and in some cases tactically, this was a very important event that happened by taking them out of the NFA. The Congress is considering them no different than firearms. That means that 4473s will be, well, you have to go through in order to get these things. Now, we think that's even unconstitutional, but nonetheless, they will be treated like any other firearms. Now that they are acknowledged by the Congress as firearms, the courts are going to have to acknowledge that they are firearms. That brings into effect the Heller decision that said that anything in common use for lawful purposes is by definition constitutional. The Caetano, and then of course McDonald incorporated that to the states to apply to the states as well. Very important. And then Caetano said that common use is 200,000 stun guns nationwide. Well, there are millions of suppressors legally owned throughout the United States right now. And once they deem them under congressional rule, the courts will have no choice but to say that they are protected by the Second Amendment under Heller, McDonald, Caetano, Bruin. And we will have a great opportunity to remove the provisions in California state law regulating or banning suppressors, short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, and other things. This is got long legs, and it puts us in a position to where we can upend some of the most heinous gun laws in the state of California, and the left knows it. Gavin Newsom has been on doing his thing on the internet talking about how terrible this is that we're legalizing suppressors, assassins tools, and things like that.
I'm going to prognosticate. I generally ask you to prognosticate, brother, but I'm going to prognosticate here. They're in common use now. The minute that the $200 fee goes away, and the required federal rectal exam that you have to have in order to get anything that's on the NFA as an NFA item goes away, and all the rules about transporting your NFA item from here to there and everywhere goes away because they just are treated like a firearm. The number of suppressors in private hands is going to explode.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to, talk about exponential increase, because you're just paying for the item. You're not paying the additional fee. You're not going through the additional hassle. You're not doing any of that. Just like you went down and say, I want to buy a 380 today. That's it. 4473, out the door you go. And most states are reasonable, not like California. California, you got the 10-day wait. Arizona, you got the 5-minute wait. Pay for it, walk out the door. That's pretty much it. You got a background check, you're done. So I'm seeing these go bananas as far as use is concerned. I would be, I wear hearing aids, as you know, and I would not be wearing them if I know you do too. If we'd had suppressors as young men hunting and whatever, you and I probably wouldn't have hearing damage. That's
Yep.
why they're so important. And then I also think about on our property out there, if I want to go hunt out there, it's really nice not to disturb my neighbors, even though they're a quarter of a mile away. They don't have to hear my rifle go off. I mean, it's not silenced by any means. You still need hearing protection a little bit, but the point is it does reduce it so much that it makes it a lot friendlier for your neighbors. So I'm seeing these things take off. And so even though there are enough out there now that they would be considered in common use, the minute this is signed by the president, wait a year, and that number is going to quadruple easily, I think. And then the battle in the courts has got to be that much easier. I mean, it's not nearly the heavy lift that it might be otherwise, I would think, particularly as they become very commonplace and not considered in any way more dangerous than anything else. I mean, that's my thought. I don't know what you think about that.
There's going to be a lot more competition amongst the manufacturers. You're going to see suppressor prices come down because the market
Yeah.
isn't so very narrow now. It is wide open. You're going to see great competition. You're going to see all kinds of products out there. You're absolutely correct. The left, Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, and all of these knuckleheads, they watch too many movies. They watch John Wick and James Bond, where they get 9 millimeters and 45s, and it's just pts, 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 where in fact suppressors lower a rifle shot to just slightly under the sound level of a chainsaw. And that is sufficient to protect your hearing, and prolong your ability to hear for a long, long, long time. So
Yeah.
you're absolutely correct. I think that you know somebody said there were 1,400 crimes committed with suppressors last year or something like that. Well, right now, pretty much suppressors are banned. They're illegal to use in the commission of a crime. They will be illegal to use in the commission of a crime in the future, just like any other, just like before. But you notice one thing? If criminals use them, somehow they've been able to come up or manufacture their own. They don't care about the law. They don't care about the rules and the regulations. They're wanting to commit a crime. And frankly, using a suppressor on a crime gun pretty much in most cases makes the gun unwieldy and unable to conceal in any sort of a practical manner. So that it's sheep dip when they're talking about suppressors widely used in crimes. That's just plain flat out not true.
Yeah, I mean,
Our
come on,
grandfathers,
crime is illegal in the first place, brother.
yeah,
That's why it's called crime. Criminals don't obey laws. That's why they're called
criminal.
criminals. The rest of us who actually are hardworking, honest Americans, we're the ones who suffer under these stupid draconian laws. The criminals couldn't care less. They go do whatever they want anyway. Well, so now the Senate is next, right? The Senate's going to be
Yeah.
less. I mean, from what you're saying, it sounds to me like the heavy lift was in the House. There's a lot more of those knuckleheads running around. They all want what they want.
Mhm.
Senate's less of a lift. Obviously, President Bush, what am I talking about? Good night. Save us from that. President Trump has already, I mean, he'll sign this. He'll sign. It's not a problem. And then, but I guess I get my question is that the fight's not over, right? I mean, people still now they need to be calling the Senate, their senator. Obviously, in California, our senators are useless, but I mean, so we need to be watching GOA for sending in emails and calling and burning up their email, burning up their phone, because we don't want the senators to blow it now that we've gotten this far. I mean, honestly, I think it's historic that we've gotten this far. We still have the Senate battle before we can get it on President Trump's desk, right?
Yep, the fight is not over. The effort isn't over. We need to duplicate the pressure that we put on the House. 435 members of the House. We only have 100 senators. And even if you have a left-wing bonehead, let them know how you feel. Do not remain silent. Fight, fight, fight. If you take the time to call Senator Cruz's office or Senator Daines' office, call them and thank them.
Yeah.
Encourage them to continue to be the stalwart leaders of the restoration of the Second Amendment. Call them every day. Leave a message. People say, oh, that doesn't mean they delete all the emails. They don't listen to all the messages. Look at what we just did in the House, folks.
Yeah, that's
We
actually
crushed
right.
them. Yeah, and we need to do it again.
One of the major problems I know we have in California, is just exactly that. And that is that folks think that their voice doesn't count. They think the phone call doesn't count. They think the email doesn't count. And you guys in particular have proven, Sam, you've proven this so many times, it's mind-boggling. I don't know why people don't seem to want to accept the proof. But you've proved more times than I got fingers and toes or that I can even think of in just the years that I've known you, the fact that that's nonsense because you've managed to kill bills, to, I mean, even before they became anything, to kill them at the last minute, to, I think about what is now SB2 in California, the first time around, I forgot what they were called, it SB 918 or something like that. You guys
Mhm.
killed that in the middle of the night by one
Mhm.
vote.
Mhm.
So the power of your voice as a gun owner and a Second Amendment advocate, whoever you are watching this, is much more powerful than you think it is. It doesn't take long to dial the phone, make a phone call, and leave a message, even if you're just leaving a message.
Mhm.
It doesn't take long to send a quick email. It doesn't take long at all to go on the GOA website and just get on the email blasts of GOA and GOC. And when you get the email blast that says, hey, we need your support, can you send an email? They've already written them. All you got to do is put your information in there and go, send, and it goes. The value is huge and the effort is small. I would say let's all right now, if we're not doing that, repent or perish. Let's get with the stinking program and help. And if you're in California and you think this is meaningless, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not. This is the beginning. I mean, we're at the beginnings of something marvelous. The more we can strip out. I mean, imagine that. We can strip out SPRs and we can strip out suppressors. We can start jerking this stuff out of the NFA. Guess who now has no authority over it? That would be the ATF. They can't make rules about it anymore. They can't get all jacked up and, on caffeine and decide they want to screw with your life with those issues. Those things are no longer in there. And then once they're popular, they're in the hands of 2, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million gun owners in the country. Common use then becomes irrefutable.
Mhm.
It's irrefutable. And I don't care what jackanapes can get in there in court and lie like a Bigelow rug. This guy and the people from GOA and GOC are going to have attorneys in there who know better, and they're going to be able to prove it. So it's like anything else. If you watch my show, I own rental properties and like that. And this weekend, I'm building a chicken coop with my son for he and his wife. They've got chickens. They want to build a coop. You got to build it, no matter what you're building. You got to build a foundation. Then you got to frame it out. Then you got to, right? So you can't just walk in and poof, there it is. I'm not going to just show up, get out of my truck with a cup of coffee, walk over and give my son a hug, and pow, there's a chicken coop. It
Mhm.
doesn't work that way. We got to go down and get materials. We got to draw out what we're going to do. We got to show up and build the stupid thing. And we got to figure out how we're doing that ahead of time. Otherwise, you don't end up with a chicken coop. You end up with something a 2-year-old would draw, and it's looking a little wonky. This is the same way. Sam and his crew and the folks at GOA and GOC are building the foundation that is required to restore our rights under the Constitution. And that takes time and it takes effort and it costs money and like that, right? They're doing the heavy lifting. All I got to do is come out in the shop and have a chat with a friend of mine whom I love dearly anyhow and record it and put it up there for you. And then I just got to wait for the stupid email to come from GOA and go, send, or pick up the phone and leave a voicemail, right, on a senator's phone or a congressman's phone. And I'm in California where my senators suck. Okay? They suck. And you may be in a state where they suck too. Okay, embrace the suck. and pick up the stinking phone and call them anyhow and leave a message. And if you get one of their staff members who's kind of a pain in the butt and they don't like you and they're not very nice, encourage them to be nicer to constituents and leave a message. Now, here's the one thing, and maybe you'll agree with me, Sam, on this, and I don't know. Be respectful, or at least be polite. Does that make sense? I think if you call and you're yelling on the phone, or you're using, if an F-bomb in your life is what you normally use for every noun and adjective and adverb and verb and every other, just anything you use, don't do that on the phone. Don't do that in the email, because that for sure is going to get them to ignore you. And so you gotta, they can be jerks, but you cannot if you want your voice to count. That's my suggestion. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
You're absolutely correct. We have to understand that we are not like them. That is the stuff that they do, where they don't treat our institutions, our government, the elected office, the policy making with respect, with honor, with dignity. They bastardize it in order to accomplish their agendas. We want to honor our founding fathers, although some of them I'm sure were really good at with the ability of, in a very eloquent way, drop some unique words that were equivalent to the F-bomb. But
Yeah.
you didn't find it in their writings, you didn't find it in their speeches, you didn't find it in their communications, because they respected the institution and they know that as ethical and respectful people that they can get things done. They can get people to listen to you. And that's what we have to do. So please, when you make a phone call, reserve the F-bombs for after you hang up. Even resist the urge to go neener, neener, neener at the end of the call, or anything like that. Just show respect, because we are the ones that are honoring all the work that's been done before us. Now, we've been laying a foundation to accomplish something like eliminating 2/3 of the NFA. For 50 years at Gun Owners of California and 49 years. Next year will be 50 years at GOA. We've been laying the foundation. We've been doing the groundwork. We've been leveling the field. We've been working, toiling, learning, building structure, building network and communications. And had we not done that, we would have not been able to accomplish what we did just in the last few days. A lot of people said, well, that nice job, the 2 weeks of work. Why are we sending you money? It took us 50 years to get here.
Yeah.
50 years and 49 for GOA. So those that have been, many who've been with us throughout the whole process, they are feeling a sense of relief, and they know that if we can accomplish this, we can get a whole lot more if we just keep going. So I want to encourage people to not lose heart, to not be negative Nellies, to go ahead and call the legislature. And if you don't want to make the phone call, go to our website, the Legislative Action Center, so you can sign your name to a letter that's going to the legislature to oppose gun bills, taking the information in the newsletters from GOA and GOC, sharing it with your friends and neighbors and family members, talking about the progress that we are making. In California, we've got a little more things, a road to travel, but we are on the high-speed train that doesn't exist in the state of California, except with regards to your Second Amendment rights. And when we get to the end, we're not going to come to a screeching halt. We're just going to drive right through the building. We're going to overturn many of the laws that we are seeing victories on nationwide and in other states. We're going to overturn them right here in California. And the left knows it, and that's why they're becoming so darn nasty and mean, because they know it's like Satan. He knows he's not going to win against God in the long run, which makes him even meaner and more evil. Well, that's the way the left, anti-gun left, is acting right now. They know they're going to get their rear ends handed to them in a legal basket, that we will win, that we will be free, and they cannot control us, because we have our firearms, because we have a desire to fight for freedom and liberty. And don't lose heart. Listen to this show, share it with other people so that they will understand that the road is bright out there. There aren't dark clouds on the horizon. We're driving right into the most glorious sunrise you can imagine in order to in our efforts to restore the Second Amendment. And I just want to encourage you to jump on and join us because this is a great ride.
I got
And
to tell you, Sam, Trump has really surprised me. He's a different president the second time around than he was the first time. I think that bullet clip in his ear, that that was a soul saver right there, I think. Just to hear Caroline Levitt, when she was asked by a little girl the other day, what's the president's religion? And she said, the president is a Christian. He believes and follows Jesus Christ. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. But even in everything else, I mean, he's right now, I mean, I don't know where I would put him in a category in his first term, but right now I'd say he's the most Second Amendment friendly president we've had in my lifetime. He's easily the best president we've had in my lifetime, and I would have put that moniker on Ronald Reagan before.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we have the right guy in the White House. He's got a phenomenal team of people. I'm just blown away by the team and how effectively they're working together to accomplish the president's goals, which are to accomplish the people's goals. And then we've got the House largely on our side. We got the Senate largely on our side. Boy, if there's a time to strike, now is the time. And we can't shrink back. We can't get comfortable. I know what it's like to fight this battle for decades. Boy, Sam certainly knows what it's like to fight this battle for decades. And we both live in California. And so we're fighting it from the belly of the beast right here. And I know how frustrating that can be. I really do. So I want to encourage you as we wrap up here. I want to encourage you in a couple different ways. One is look at the positive that's happening and don't dwell on the negative so much. I know that as human beings, we really like to look at the negative, but we forget to look at the wins. If we're focused on where we're winning, we start to see some victories that we never thought would come. I never thought in my lifetime that we would actually be removing items from the National Firearms Act. I didn't think that was remotely possible, and yet it's happening. I didn't think in my lifetime I would see the federal government suing a state like California because it's violating people's Second Amendment rights. I mean, there's so many things happening right now that I got to pinch myself when I wake up, make sure I'm not dreaming. If you're a person of faith, start your morning in prayer. Thank God for the blessings he's bestowing on us right here. Pray for the victory that we have over evil, because I'm going to call it out right here. When you want to strip other people of their freedom, their ability to speak their opinion, their ability to defend themselves, that's evil. That's what it is. It's evil, and the whole desire is to control other people. And if your desire is to control other people by taking away their ability to speak and their ability to resist, you are evil. And that's what we're fighting. This is not a fight for gun rights. This is a fight of good over evil, and we need to start viewing it that way. And if that's the case, and I believe it is, we got to start with our faith. We've got to start being hopeful and never, ever, ever give up, no matter how hard it is. And understand, too, that if you're my age, I'm not old. Sam's not old, really. I mean, if we're lucky, we might get to 90, or even, I mean, in today's world, it's possible to even get further than that. But it is possible, frankly, that when you're our age or older, we might be fighting to restore rights that we'll never see. We might be fighting to achieve victories we'll never get to enjoy. And while that sucks, like I said, do what the SEALs say. Embrace the suck, get on it anyway, and realize that our kids, if you got them, your grandkids, if you got them, but certainly the next generations of Americans will benefit from the battle we fight today. If we're gazing at our own belly button and we're only worried about ourselves, then we can get maudlin and we can get depressed and we can get discouraged. Start up with your faith. Recognize that you're fighting not just for yourself, but for the future of the greatest country on the face of this earth. If that doesn't motivate you, well, have another cup of coffee, slap yourself in the face with some cold water, and wake up. Sam, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it, brother. I love you a ton. I hope you have a wonderful day. Is there anything else we should have talked about that we didn't?
And the only word I have to say is amen. And
Amen.
no,
Have,
though, stay engaged. Don't give up. Like you said, we'll be here fighting. We'll be here to tell you what's going on and how you can be a part of the winning team. So God bless you
well,
all.
and if
Love
you're
you.
not I'll just say it right. If you're not a member of GOA, shame on you. You need to join. There'll be a link in the description. If you're not a member of Gun Owners of California, I don't care if you're in California or not, join anyhow, because the battle is where the beast is, not where the beast isn't. And lots of folks have left to go to other states. I get it, and I don't blame them, but we got to fight the battle where the battle is. So join, support, help, okay? There'll be links in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great week. Stay strong, and wherever you go, whatever you do, stay safe.